Hi everyone, welcome to my show, From Stuck to Unstoppable, how divorce can be the catalyst for the most extraordinary chapter in your life. Learn how 21 mindset experts can help you shift, thrive, and create the life of your dreams. Now, this is not limited only to women who are experiencing divorce or separation. This is for any woman who is finding themselves in a transition in their life, whether it be an empty nesting or career shift or navigating parts of their career that they hadn't anticipated, relationships. Gosh, there's a myriad of things that one could be in transition with. It could simply be that you've woken up one morning and realized that this is not exactly the life that you had in mind. That's very real, and I feel like that's happening a lot these days. So this show and summit is for you. I have curated a handful of wonderful mindset specialists, casting a wide net of expertise from health, wealth, marriage, divorce, relationships, financial, grief, all sorts of things that will help you navigate your way into living the best version of yourself in your life. So stay tuned as we trickle out 21 experts over the next 21 days to help inspire and empower and help you realize that everything you need is exactly inside of you where it's always been. So join me on this little adventure, and I look forward to seeing you. Thanks so much. Welcome back to my show, From Stuck to Unstoppable. I'm your host, Christina Price, and with me today is Karen Covy, the masterful divorce coach, recovering lawyer, and life strategist, my favorite. She is the host of her podcast, Off the Fence, Mastering Decision Making, Divorce and More, and she's the author of a book called When Happily Ever After Ends. So tell me a little bit more, Karen, about how you became a recovering divorce lawyer and how you found yourself as a divorce coach and life strategist. Give me a little backstory about you.
So I have been an attorney for more decades than I will admit to. Let's just say I count in double digits, not single. And so I started my career as a trial lawyer, worked for the government, started my own firm, said I'll do any kind of case there is except divorce. And you know what they say when
how that works. Yeah.
Yep, it's funny how the universe works. So that's what kept coming to me. But because I had so much experience before I went into divorce court, when I got there, I looked around and went, well, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that you would be pitted against the person you said you were going to love till the day you die, ripping their face off in a court of law when you have to go sitting next to them at your kid's soccer game that night. Like,
Right.
it didn't make sense. So I kept from the very start looking for that better way, which is why I became a mediator, which is why I became a collaborative divorce professional, which is why I became an arbitrator. And ultimately, one day, because I had my own law firm and I just wanted to be me, I didn't want to be an empire. So it was just me and a secretary. And the secretary was in the office and I was having a consult with a client. It was really hot that day. The door was open. I do my thing, client leaves, I walk out, and the secretary happened to have worked for all the big guns in Chicago. So she knew all the big divorce law firms. Client walks out and she said, nobody else does that, right? And it was like, does what? Yeah, what did I do? And she said, you sat there and you spent an hour and a half with this person. And you said, here's how divorce works. Here's what your options are. Here's what, here's what you've got to do first, second, and third. Now tell me what you want to do and we'll proceed from there. And I said, if the other guys don't do that, what do they do? And she said, here's a contract, sign here, give me the money. And I'm like, I don't think that's my job. Obviously it is my job to help them, and to get them to sign a contract at some point if they want me, but I have to give them their choices. How can they make a choice if they don't even know they have one? And what I realized in that moment was that the quality of your divorce, and therefore your life after your divorce depends on which lawyer's office you walk into first.
Mm-hmm.
And if you walk into the office of the litigator, they're going to go, I will fight for your rights. I will protect you. You walk into the mediator's office, they're going to say, we can work this out. And what they're telling you is not what you need, but what they do. But because clients are in such an emotionally vulnerable place at that point in their life, what they hear is, oh, this is what you have to do. And they don't understand they have choices. And so that sort of launched me into this exploration of coaching as being a filler for the things that people assume a lawyer is going to do that a lawyer really isn't going to do.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like there's just a lot of gaps. And of course, like all things in life, you don't know what you don't know. And most of the time, by the time you figure it out, it's hindsight. And hopefully you're never going to have to do that again. So it's a
Right.
little counterintuitive and counterproductive. And
It's very counterintuitive. And the problem is, every single person who I've ever spoken to, I'll say 90%, I won't say all, but
yeah.
90% of the people that I've talked to who have been through a divorce have, when I tell them what I do, they're like, I wish that I had somebody like you by my side. I wish I knew about you. I wish I knew about divorce coaching. I didn't know it was a thing.
I know.
But getting people on the front end to have that knowledge and understand that not only is this a thing, but it's a thing that can save you an enormous amount of time, money, grief, conflict, and pain. That's my mission, is to get the word out that this is a thing and it's something that can help people immensely.
And during like probably one of the most stressful, vulnerable times in somebody's life. I mean,
Yep,
there are
exactly.
many things that stack up to the same experience.
Yeah, if you look at the Holmes-Rahe stress indicators, it's that divorce is second only to death of a spouse in terms of how much stress it
Yeah.
causes in a person's life.
Yeah.
So it's a super stressful time. You are very emotional. You don't understand the system. The system is
Mhm.
not user friendly. It is not intuitive. And if you don't understand what you're doing and what your choices are, you're not going to make good choices, or you're
Yeah.
not going to make choices at all. Somebody else will choose things for you, and you won't even know the difference.
Right. Yeah. So much of it is just the right exposure,
100%.
you know.
And it's about arming yourself with knowledge and information and the tools, the confidence, the courage to take the next step and do the next right thing, and have somebody there who's going to guide you through it. And everyone assumes that somebody is going to be your divorce
The
lawyer.
lawyer, right?
But for most people, the law is about 10% of their divorce.
Mm.
Now, it's an important 10%.
Sure.
Don't get me
It's
wrong.
the
You got
binding
to get it
part.
right.
It's the binding part. Exactly.
But the other 90% is your finances, your money, your kids, your house, your identity, your social
Mhm.
life, your friends. It's like there's a lot of pieces that are involved in going through a divorce. A lot of your life is going to change if
Mhm.
you don't know how to do those things and do them in the right order.
Sure.
Easy to make a mistake. It's not your fault, but then you got to live with the consequences.
It does seem like a lot of it is an afterthought of let's just see how things shake out, as opposed to being
Right.
proactive and really arming yourself more just with knowledge, not like the best defense ever to make the worst type of outcome for your ex, but really just to be a little bit more on level ground with yourself and being able to be walked through the process that is dizzying.
Yeah, it really is. It's overwhelming. And what happens is there's so much that when people try, what do most people do? They're facing a divorce. Okay, they get on the computer and they Google it, or they
Right.
ask
Ask a
AI these
friend.
days, or
Mhm.
call a friend. Now, your friend might have the best intentions in the world, but
Mhm.
and maybe they went through a divorce and maybe they didn't, but it was their divorce, not yours.
Right.
Totally different circumstance. And Google is great, but it's going to give you conflicting information.
Mhm.
ChatGPT hallucinates. And so the bottom line is you got to have somebody, when it's something that's this big and this important in your life, You need somebody by your side who can guide you through it, who really does have your back in all of the different ways that you need someone to have your back, so that you can make the best decisions possible and you can relax a little bit and breathe. Because when you're going through a divorce, your head is not in the game. Until you deal with your emotions and understand how you can do that effectively, it's hard to think straight.
So let's talk about that. I was actually just watching one of your recordings earlier, and you were talking specifically about that. And so I know that a lot of the work that you do, you're as a life strategist, as a mindset coach of some sort, like how, let's just talk about why that's so important of unpacking a little bit, helping your clients unpack a little bit where they are, what they want, where their anger is rooted from, what's going to serve them, what's not, because that seems to be what really gets in the way of progress.
What people have to understand, it's like you've got to deal with your emotions first, because if you're super emotional, you literally biologically cannot think,
And-
right? The stress hormones flood your body. They take the prefrontal cortex offline.
Right.
You're just reacting. You don't want to be in that position. When
Mhm.
it's something that's important as divorce that affects every area of your life, you want to be intentional about what you create.
Mhm.
And if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a plan, if you don't even know what you're shooting at,
Right.
your chances of ending up where you want to be at the end of your divorce, it's a crapshoot. They're not good. But if you start out with a specific goal and an objective in mind, and you work on it all along the way, and you work on yourself and your mindset, and when you end your divorce, when you're at the end, number one, you have a much better chance of achieving the outcome you really want instead
Mhm.
of ending up with the Tupperware but having lost the 401k. And you're in a position to hit the ground running. You don't have to spend the next 10 years in therapy trying to recover from all the nonsense that went on in your divorce so
Mhm.
that you can build yourself up and create a new life. We only get one life in this world. You want to make use of every single day to the best of your ability. You don't want to waste a lot of time running in circles or doing things that staying in a headspace that's only going to keep you stuck and angry and bitter. We all know that person
Yeah.
who
Yep.
got divorced 20 years ago and is still angry about it today as they were 20 years ago. Nobody wants to be that person.
How do you lead your clients out of that vortex?
I like that. I like the vortex idea. I never thought of it that way, but that's a very apt analogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it starts always with dealing with your own emotions. You cannot push them down, deny them, pretend they're not there. That
Mhm.
only makes them come out sideways later. So it's about acknowledging where you're at,
Mhm.
being in the pain, and then just working through it. It's like, uh,
Just letting it flow.
yeah, it's like the saying goes, when you're going through hell, keep.
Going.
And so that's what it is. It's about acknowledging that, not demeaning it, not belittling it, but not getting married to the pain,
Mm.
not staying in a victim mindset that will ultimately work against you.
Mhm.
So it's about, I help empower my clients
Mhm.
to remember who they are,
Right.
remember what they want in life, and then make a plan that will help get them through the hard time, the awful time, and get them out of that so
Mhm.
that they can actually live the life that they really want to live.
Yeah. Do you find that when do you find that your clients often cross paths with you? Where are they in their process? I'm curious.
It depends. I'll answer like a lawyer. It
Okay.
depends. But some people, I deal with a lot of people. I start coaching them when they're stuck in the headspace of, do I stay or do I go?
Ah, okay. So
Because,
you got the
yeah,
beginning. Yep.
from the beginning,
Yeah.
because that's a place where a lot of people get stuck. Especially,
Mm.
I deal with a lot of people who've been married for at least a decade or more, which is
Yeah.
the definition of a long-term marriage,
Yep.
right? And after you've been married for that long, your whole identity is tied up in being a wife or a husband or a spouse or whatever. And it becomes hard to let go of that. Plus, most people, they take it seriously that they promise till death do they part. And now they're miserable. They want to get out and they're not dead yet. So
Right.
they're like, what do I do? How do I reconcile
Mhm.
that cognitive dissonance of I value two different things and they're in conflict? So I help them deal with that and work it through so that they can make a decision. Because again, when you're on the fence, which is
Mhm.
why I podcast this,
Love that. I was like, yep, that's part of that.
but when you're on the fence, you're not living your life. You're not fully committed to your marriage because half of you wants out.
I
You're
know.
not fully committed to creating a new life because you're still married. And
Mhm.
so you're in this sort of half in, half out place, and you're not enjoying your life and you're not living your life. So my like message to people is live your life. You
Right.
only get one, right? I can help you do it better, but you've got to commit one way or the other. And I have no skin
True.
in the game,
Yep.
right? If you stay married and you're happy and you can make your marriage work for you,
Great.
yay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I am not a divorce monger. But on the other hand, there are times when divorce is the right decision for you. And if that's what you decide and you're good with it, that's awesome too. Now you've got progress. Now you can start to do something. But when you're in the stuck space,
Ah,
you're just not going anywhere.
just like paralysis. And it's, in my experience, it's shocking how long you can hover there.
Yeah, a
Hover
long,
there
long time.
for a decade, if not more.
Yeah. It can go usually, and I don't know how they do these studies or how where they get these statistics from, but somebody said that
Yeah.
it's usually about 7 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I
And
would
most
an
people,
average. Yep.
yeah, most people, once they get through their divorce, their biggest regret is that they didn't do it
But
sooner.
sooner, I feel like that's about 100% of what my experience is with people.
Yeah, because they're holding back because look, this isn't going to be fun. There is no universe in which this is going to be a great experience. However,
But it
you
doesn't
can
have to be
do
so terrible.
it doesn't have to, if you know what you're doing, it doesn't have to be a disaster. It doesn't have to destroy your life, does not have to financially decimate you. And if you position it, if you get through it properly and you position yourself properly as you go through the process, once you're done, then you are ready to build that new life, to start again and start fresh.
Yeah,
But you're not going to get there by sitting on the fence.
I know. I feel like that's one of the biggest, like what the biggest hurdles is actually just being like declaring, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
And then things start to move. But it is that initial saying it out loud, declaring it.
Yeah, it's once you take the first step, once you make a decision and boldly take your first step,
Mhm.
the universe conspires to
That's
help.
right.
I
That's right.
can't remember who said that, somebody famous.
Yeah.
But the point is that everything in life starts with a decision. And so it's about making that decision. And then once you do that, now you've got to look at, okay, what's the next decision and the next decision? And, but the more decisions you make, the more momentum you build, and the more you're going to go towards whichever direction it is that you want to go toward so that you can actually live your life and
Right.
enjoy the life you're creating
Not have it
and
on hold.
build financial security that's going to stay with you.
Yeah, momentum is a very real thing. And I would say, like all things, that the more decisions, choices that you make, the easier it gets. And
Mhm.
I feel like a theme from a lot of the interviews are not making a choice as a choice. Either be deliberate about it or be a victim of it. At the end of the day, the power is in your court. And I think once people really realize that and own that, then it is like working a muscle. Oh, I'll make this decision. Oh, then I'll make this decision. Okay, here we go. It's like anything, it just takes practice. And the more you
Yep,
practice it, the better you get at it. And yeah, momentum is real.
exactly. And there is no power or joy in being a victim.
Nope. Yeah, just giving your power away. That's
So,
something
so
I'm sure you have to work on with your clients a lot.
that's what I help my clients do is
Mhm.
understand, first make a decision and then understand what their choices are because people think of the big decision as do I stay or do I go? And
Right.
it's a huge decision.
Mhm.
However, it's only the first
First
decision
one.
in a series.
Right.
When you go through a divorce or any other major life transition,
Mhm.
you're going to have to make more life-changing decisions in a relatively confined period of time
Yeah.
than you will at any other time in your life.
Mhm.
So you've got to get your head in the game. And the more you understand that there are processes and ways to make decisions, there are frameworks, there's a whole science of decision making. And
Mhm.
I've studied it so that I can help people because different frameworks talk to different people. Something that's going to work for you might not work for me, but I can help people guide them through and say, okay, here are your choices. What do you want to do now? And then you take the next step and the next step and the next step. But it's about doing all those steps in a cohesive way
Right.
so that at the end of the day, you end up where you wanted to be
Mhm.
at achieving the goal that you set out to
Right.
achieve, not ending up somewhere that,
Where
okay,
am I?
you're
Yeah.
divorced, but now what?
Right.
That's not the position you want to be in. If you find yourself in that position, then I pick you up from there and help you through. But it's so much easier if you can
Right.
start sooner and get
Mhm.
through the process in an intentional way.
Sure. Always. It's always better to start on the early end than come in later. But I'm sure, as we spoke about before, like you just don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you are caught down the line and you've just had it and you're pulling your hair out and you're like, there's got to be a better way. And I'm sure people find you at that stage. And yeah, you just obviously go make the best of it and go from there, trying to make better choices going forward until you
Right.
cross the finish line.
100%. And a lot of people, they get stuck in the middle of their divorce.
Mhm.
And usually, like everything happens fast and furious in the beginning, and then you hit this, you
Right.
flatline in the
Right.
middle, right? And it's at that point where they're like, what's going on? Nothing's happening. My lawyer doesn't talk to me. I don't understand what my options are. I want to be done with this. Why can't we move it?
Right.
And so that's another place where I get a lot of people because if you understand how the system works, you can start to shake it and
Mm.
make some forward movement. But if you don't do that, if you're the kind of person who says, "Well, I'm just going to wait till my lawyer calls me. I'm just going to see what my spouse offers. I'm just going to," you're very passive,
Right.
you're going to get what you get. And I don't know what that's going to be. But if
Mhm.
you want to intentionally create something and you have a goal in mind, you have got to take the bull by the horns,
Mhm.
hopefully sooner rather than later, so that you have a chance of achieving that goal, whatever it is.
And I do feel like at the end of the day, so much does come down to shifting your mindset, uncovering and peeling back your limiting beliefs about your own self-worth and value and identity. And I would imagine that all of those things get uncovered during your coaching, because how would you be able to figure out what your vision is or where you want to end up if you don't even address those issues?
Yeah, people don't think about it, but mindset in divorce plays a huge role,
Yeah.
right? It affects your attitude, it affects your openness, it affects your ability to see possibility.
Possibilities. Yes.
So going into this with the right mindset is huge. And even if you start with not the right mindset because you're beaten down, you're upset, you're emotional, you're all the things, totally understandable. However, the sooner you can work through that, so you can start to say, oh, there's life out here. I can do things differently. That's the shift. That's the transformation. And when you're starting, it's so hard to see. You can't
Right.
see. You don't even believe it. If I were to say that to somebody, you just want to stick a poker in my eye
Right.
because it's like, I'm miserable. Stop telling me that. The truth is, once you get past that first wall of pain, you get little openings, and it's about sticking your toe in the opening and opening the door a little more, and then opening the door a little more. And pretty soon you're looking at a whole new you. And that's really what this is about, I
Yeah.
think. It's
Mhm.
about you can use your divorce to be a source of pain and misery, or
Mhm.
you can use it as a source of growth and rejuvenation. And what people don't want to hear, especially in the beginning, is it's a choice.
Yeah.
And but you've got to do that grieving on the front end. You've got to live through the
'Cause
misery.
it'll catch up to you. That's right.
And it's okay to be angry and upset, and you should be. You
Yep.
need to be.
Yep.
But you just don't want to stay there for the rest of your
Right.
life.
Just keep moving. Just keep one foot in front of the other and acknowledge and move. And because the two
Yeah.
things can be true. It
Yeah.
can be really painful and sad and full of grief, and this wonderful opportunity to grow and realize your greatest version of yourself.
It can be a both and. It does not
Oh,
have to be either or.
that's right. That's right. That's a perfect thing to wrap up on. I love it. Karen, this was great. Thank you so much for sharing all your insight. I know that I'm inspired. I'm sure you've inspired and landed with a lot of audience members to get off the fence. If they are on the fence, take a look at your podcast, give Karen a call, get some clarity, and keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
Take a direction.
Yeah. Yeah. If you've got a little momentum and you're moving, you can always change direction. But
Sure.
if you're stuck in one spot, you're not even going in a direction.
Right.
So that's why I love
It's
how you put
easier to
that.
pivot if you're already moving, right?
Exactly.
That's easy and that's okay. And we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to change our minds.
Exactly.
So,
100%.
yeah, great. It was wonderful connecting with you. I look forward to connecting with you in the future. And thank you so much.
You're welcome. And if your listeners want to connect with me, just go to
Mhm.
my website, karencovey.com, KARENCOVY.com.
Thank you. That's
You're
great.
welcome.
Okay,
Thank
we'll
you.
talk soon.
Okay.
Okay.